Okay, I think it's time to start. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome, dear participants, to this workshop on blind evaluation in Horizon Europe. My name is Peter Hertwig. I am the head of the so-called business process unit in DG Research and Innovation in the European Commission. I am here with a few colleagues who will guide you and present the different items to you during this afternoon. So this will be, in the first instance, my colleague Isabella Prokopovic, who will give the introductory presentation. And my colleague Isabel Vergara will then also help in replying your questions and participating in the meeting. In the background, we have Olivier Margran and Manuel Romariz making sure that everything is working well. So I see we have reached the number of 100 participants, and we assume that there will be quite a few more. This is a workshop that is supposed to be addressed to national contact points in the first instance, and in particular to the national contact points for the calls that will use blind evaluation in the very near future, meaning in all the two-stage calls of the 23-24 Horizon Europe work program, and that concerns in the first instance clusters 1, 4, and 6. So we hope that among the ones following us now, there are in the first instance national contact points from these clusters. But of course, everybody else is also welcome. We have called this on purpose not a training or an information session, but a workshop, because we all know that this is a pilot, which means a pilot is something where nobody exactly knows all the details of implementation. So we have, of course, a certain basic understanding on how it should work, but we will probably not have exact replies to all your questions that you will ask today. And we ask for your understanding. It is a pilot, and that is the very nature of a pilot. I should also remark on the technical side that this session is live streamed. So while the major addressees are the national contact points, in principle, everybody else could also follow. And the session is also recorded so that afterwards we put it on the YouTube channel of DG RTD, and it will be available for everybody to follow it. Final remark on the running of the discussion. We would ask you to go to Slido and ask your questions and send your comments via Slido. So the code for today is blind eval, as you can see here. You can also scan the QR code that you currently see on the screen. And then I would also ask you not only to put your questions and comments, but to look for questions and comments that are already there. And when you want to ask a question or send a comment on the same or a very similar topic, don't repeat what is already there, but like the thing that is already there. And then we will go through the list of questions and comments in the order of number of likes. I think this is all by way of introduction, and I would now hand over and give the floor to my colleague Isabella for an introduction with a few slides on the things that we can actually tell you at this moment about blind evaluation. Isabella, please.
Thank you very much, Peter. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Isabella Prokopovic, and I am part of the same unit as Peter here at DG Research and Innovation at the European Commission. And my role today is to present you the pilot on blind evaluation, some key facts, a little bit about the process, and the guidance that we could share with you in the first place. So as already mentioned, the pilot concerns all two-stage calls in the Horizon Europe program for 23-24. And there's one exception for one call in the widening, which by design was not included. And of course, we have also included the legal basis of the Horizon Europe regulation. So the idea behind the pilot was really to tackle the concerns that the evaluation process could be perceived as biased towards well-known organizations in countries with better performing research and innovation systems, though we want to also stress that an independent study did not reveal such bias. And then another very important point for us is to understand the aim of the pilot. It is to verify and identify whether the implementation of blind evaluations is possible given the legal requirements, the operational context, and is it possible? Does it create a lot of difficulties? And if it's not the case, it might lead to a modified approach in the future with greater use of blind evaluations, which of course could then effectively mitigate the risk of real potential or perceived reputational bias. But this is really the aim, to really see if it's feasible with the legal requirements and operational context in mind. So again, just to sum up the key facts, really, again, it's the work program 23-24. All two-stage calls, with the one exception, are concerned. And then a very important other point, blind evaluation concerns only the first stage application of two-stage calls. So that the second stage application will be evaluated as usual. And what comes with the pilot on blind evaluation is a new admissibility criterion, which reads that applicants submitting a proposal under the blind evaluation pilot must not disclose their organization names, acronyms, logos, or names of personnel in Part B of their first stage application, which is, there was a change of the of the presentation, but okay, perfect. I hope we're back on the right slide. So I understand this. So this is the admissibility criterion which is set in place. To go more on the process of blind evaluations, it requires that experts in the SEP evaluation session do not know the consortium structure and the applicant involved, which is the whole idea behind blind evaluations. And of course, we at this point, we differentiate between Part A and Part B of the proposal, of the first stage proposal. Part A is in that sense easier, that it's the evaluation session are currently configured. The IT system will automatically hide from experts the identification data in the proposal details page. So this is, it's configured in the evaluation session by the call coordinators, and it works automatically. In the Part B, it's not possible to hide any information in the SEP IT tool, and it is up to the applicant to omit any identification data in their first stage application in the Part B. And it's a manual exercise for the evaluating officer to check whether the applicant included any identification data there. And if the Part B of the proposal will include any identification, which will be also go more into detail in some further slides, this proposal will be declared inadmissible. So I guess we can move to the next slide. Okay, and these are some of the findings that we could throughout how we work with the pilot, and also as an effect of some discussions, what we would like to stress also to you as the NCPs, but further to the applicants. So first of all, there's a difference between clearly inadmissible proposals and gray zone cases, which will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis with the help of the legal team. So this is what was the problem here. And then so we expect that there will be inadmissible proposals where the evaluator could guess the identity of the applicant regardless. and for example, in a small research community, and we plan to track those cases and examine to what extent true blind evaluations were possible. Okay, and I think we are possible to do it. Okay, perfect. Very good in the slides. Another really important point is the mention of the country. It's not part of the. It's basically what it means that it doesn't necessarily means when the country is mentioned of the applicant and that the proposal will be deemed inadmissible. However, in case the applicant is clearly identifiable, the proposal will be inadmissible. This is also a very important point, and we'll stress it in some examples later on. What could be here the difference? But again, if there are some cases which are again in the gray zone, this will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Another point which was mentioned to us in one of the discussions was proposals with blacked out names and or information. Well, it's even though it's not preferred, but it is accepted. Another important point is the intentionality behind the exposure of identity. So here's the question whether the applicant made a mistake, or is it the true intention of the applicant to find a way around the rules of the pilot. So this will be also evaluated very carefully. So this is one more point. And then the final one on this stage would be that the application form template was annotated with more guidance for the applicants regarding the blind evaluation process. So in the guidance itself throughout the text, but also there is a info box included for the applicants to refer to. And we can move to the next slide. So we also included some of the questions we were already asked in prior discussions, as in happens that these questions are come up more frequently. So first of all, how can experts assess the capacity of the partners to perform the work proposed? Only excellence and part of the impact are evaluated in first stage proposals, and we do not evaluate implementation at this stage. So just to also always keep in mind, blind evaluations only concern the first stage proposal. How can applicants support the state of the art or TRL of a proposal without citing their own publications or projects? This is also a very crucial point on how to insert references, and we'll see it also further in the slides because we have included also some examples for you, but the general rule is that applicant cannot mention these publications as theirs, but they can mention them from a neutral point of view. Another one would be, can we mention governmental bodies by name in a blind evaluation proposal? If there are beneficiaries, then not. The consortium structure cannot be mentioned in the first stage application, but the consortium will be revealed in the second stage application, as the second stage is not evaluated blindly. So always to keep in mind, it's only the first stage application. And the last question would be how to manage if we have to mention the location of a pilot plot or type of farm or a climatic area. Especially when the topic description requires it, this can be mentioned, but the reason behind this that the applicant does not necessarily have to be from this particular area. So yeah, next slide, please. Okay, and we come to the point on references to publications, and the proposal can include references to participants' own publications if there's no emphasis that the publication is authored by one or more proposers. And to make it maybe more understandable, the first statement visible on the slide is an example of an inadmissible, which would make the proposal inadmissible. And it says for climate impact, we'll use greenhouse gas emission intensities following a methodology developed previously by project partner, Dalin et al. So it's a very clear indication who is the project partner. The others, the following statement would be acceptable. For climate impact, we'll use greenhouse gas emission intensities following the methodology described in Dalin et al. We don't have the connection that this is actually one of the project partners, and therefore it's acceptable. And to the further slide, please. And then we also provided some examples of statements which will result in inadmissible proposals, and we also included this in the application form template for applicants to refer to have to compare their own proposals. And I would propose to really go through them and see, for example, the first one, most of project's participants have been involved in the previous Horizon 2020 project, NanoCom. Again, this is a indirect but still indication. For climate impact, we'll use greenhouse gas emission intensities following a methodology developed previously by a project partner. This is the same question which we had on the previous slide. The next one is this task in work program 3 will be based on outputs generated, work package will be based on outputs generated by some participants of the consortium. With a footnote, in the footnote, there will be a link to a YouTube video or web page where participants can be identified. So it's also very easy for the evaluating officer to check who are the participants. The consortium includes the largest research institutes in France. Here we have a example with the mention of the country, which also, is a frequent question itself. Partner 3 is the leading company in Spain for wind turbine installation. Again, the country and also further indications of the participant, of the partner. The next slide, please. And further, we have our current research expands our previous findings described in a recently published article. Here we have a exposure of identity through the reference to a publication, which is not from neutral point of view. The consortium consists of leaders in the high-tech industry, including the biggest in terms of capital cost structure of microchips. Another indication, an indirect indication. The coordinator organization was the one who first introduced the concept of mRNA in vaccines. And the last one would be the consortium consists of 2 research centers, including an international one based in Geneva and the oldest university in Belgium. Here we have another example with the mention of the country, which would make the proposal inadmissible. So this would be the introduction to the pilot with some of the examples that we shared also with the applicants. And so thank you very much for your attention. But I would propose to go to the questions, which I assume will be plenty.
Thank you very much, Isabella. And we have to apologize for the little hiccup at the beginning with the slides. But all the slides, the set of slides is indeed available on the event webpage. So if you want to open the slides yourself and see what is the content of the first few slides, you can open them alongside the YouTube stream. And now indeed, we have plenty of time for going through questions and remarks. I see that you followed our request not only to put questions, but also to vote on the questions of others. And we can go now through the list in the order of number of likes, starting with the very first one. Proposals very often have unique infrastructure and or data and so on. How should one put these to part B without revealing oneself? Who wants to start? Is Isabel or Isabella?
I can make a start on it. Of course, first of all, it's, as I said, it's the only part, the stage one, the first stage will be evaluated blindly. So second stage will be evaluated as usual. So there are no obstacles to include all information. The second point will be also we understand it's very hard to include this, but this is also the aim of the pilot to see is it even possible for applicants to present a proposal and still maintain the anonymity of the proposal. So it's very hard from our point of view to really make a guide here what can be included or not. But yeah, this would be really to see that it's also the stage 2 that will be evaluated as usual. I don't know if Isabel would like to.
Maybe to add, you already said, but just to remember that we are evaluating the first stage, and in the proposal we do not ask for the details of the consortia, and we also do not ask for the details that we need to evaluate the operational capacity. So we don't ask details for the infrastructure and capacities that the partners should have. So in the first stage, we only ask and evaluate the excellence of the proposal and part of the impact. So details on participants, consortia, and operational capacity will come in the second stage, yeah. Which is not evaluated blindly, yeah.
Let's go to the second question. The excellence chapter still demands references to products on the market and reference to patents and publications. How should this be answered anonymously? I think partially the answer was given already in the slides, but please elaborate.
Exactly, as in as I said about the publications, this also can be translated to the products on the market and the patents. It's very much to, of course, if necessary, to mention them, but to keep in mind not to include a link between the participant and the publication or the patent. If it's this is how it and it can be, as we said with the examples, it's possible to include those references from a neutral point of view with no emphasis between on the link between the participant and the author or the products. So of course it requires probably more caution from the applicant to be really careful not to create this link. But it can be mentioned, the products can be mentioned. It cannot be mentioned that these products or publications are coming from the participant itself.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Blind evaluations. Or Isabel, did you want to complement? Okay. Blind evaluations were used before in framework programs and abandoned. What is the reason for the reintroduction? Why were they abandoned the last time? Maybe I start replying to this myself. So what is the reason for the introduction? I'm afraid we cannot really reply to this. We can only tell you how they were introduced. They were not part of the original Commission proposal for Horizon Europe. They were suggested during the negotiations and were brought in by the legislator, so Council and Parliament. And so we are now, of course, obliged to make it happen because this is part of the legal act and the decision by the Council and the Parliament to do this. Why were they abandoned the last time? It is already quite a while ago that there were some experiments with it. And as far as I remember, the main reason was indeed because the implementation was not rather very straightforward. But maybe Isabel, you want to comment on this?
No, nothing else to add. Yes, it's in the legal basis, so we have to pilot this. And as far as I know, we were organizing blind evaluations in FP5, if I am not mistaken, and it was very cumbersome to organize evaluations. Yeah, so I don't think we put this admissibility condition, and we had to scrutinize all Part Bs and scratch all information related to the identity of the applicant. So I think that was the reason, because we abandoned it.
Okay, next question. How can evaluators fully judge the excellence of proposals if a lot of info needs to be described in general way to avoid revealing applicant's identity?
Yes, I think I can take it, and then maybe Isabel, if you'd like to add on. Of course, it's again it's in the first stage application, so first stage proposal. So if there's a lot of more information needed to make a full-fledged proposal, this is still possible in the second stage. And the second advice is also, if needed, to include all information, and then just keeping in mind not to create the link between the participant and the author. And this would be the general rules, which of course it's a repetition, but this is kind of how it could work.
Yes, and just to complement, I don't think it's correct that a lot information should be described in a general way. No, I think it's possible to keep details as in a normal proposal. The only thing is that they should not reveal the identity of the applicants behind, but of course they can give as many details as needed. Yeah.
Okay. The next question, I think we have more or less replied. What about references to literature, previous publications, and previous projects? They can be inserted, but not saying this is my publication, this is my former project, but in the form of more general, generic references to some publications and some projects out there. Next one, will applicants receive feedback explaining why their proposal was judged inadmissible in the case they do not meet the admissibility criteria for blind evaluation?
Yes, they will receive a feedback, so they will receive a rejection letter because the proposal will be rejected, and the reasons why. Yeah, so we will explain why we are rejecting, and with as many details as possible. Yes.
Next one, how to describe national or international R&I activities whose results will feed into the project and how that link will be established in excellence. It's very similar to earlier questions. Of course, references can be inserted, but without a direct link between the beneficiaries or the applicants and these earlier results. No, don't think you have anything to add, have you?
No.
Okay, who will decide if a proposal is inadmissible, the Commission or the evaluators who know the area?
Well, in principle, it's the Commission taking the decision to reject proposals, but we follow the assessment of the experts. So the admissibility checks are normally done by internal staff only. So we present to experts only admissible proposals. So the first admissibility checks are done by staff. Yeah. But of course, it could be that we don't identify some indirect or direct identity of participants in the proposal Part B, and the experts tell us that this is happening. So with this information coming from the experts, we will decide case by case in the case if it is an indirect revealing of the identity of the participant.
Yes, and we should maybe emphasize again that for the indirect references to beneficiaries' identities, it will always be a case-by-case decision. So for these direct references, it's very clear. So if you put names of persons or organizations, this is out. But in case of these indirect references, it will be case-by-case. Okay, next one. Is it acceptable to indicate in Part B from which countries consortium members come and which disciplines they represent? I think it was partially replied already in the slides. In principle, yes, you can say from which country beneficiaries come. If you don't complement this with other information, like in the examples that were shown, that would then make it possible to guess which organization is actually meant. And for the disciplines, I think this is also in principle possible, unless, of course, there is only, let's say, one organization in one country representing this discipline, then, of course, it is a clear indirect reference to the identity. So it all depends a bit. And I don't know, have we already started speaking about the degree of intentionality? We haven't yet, but maybe we should make a remark on this one. Isabel, do you want to?
Yes, no, you say it already. So for these indirect cases, we will analyze one by one, and we will also look into the intentionality behind why this indirect revealing of the participants is there in the proposal Part B. Is it needed? Is a mistake? Is this was intentionally done? So as you can see, for these indirect cases, we will have to analyze a lot of details, and this will represent a lot of work for us in the organization of the evaluation. And this is precisely what we want to analyze in the pilot.
Next question, what happens if one of the evaluators identifies a participant on its own? How would that case be handled? I think this is one of the cases that Isabel mentioned. So the commission or the executive agency staff will do the first admissibility check, but it is always possible that something slips through. And then, of course, if an evaluator makes us aware of a potential case, we will follow it up, but we will then follow it up in the same way as any other individual cases.
And maybe, Peter, just to complement, it might be that even without revealing indirectly the identity of the participants, the experts can guess who is behind. Of course, the applicants will not be rejected in this case, but this is something that we want to analyze in this pilot. So we will, after the evaluations, we will ask experts if this happened. So if they could guess, even if their identity was not revealed in the proposal, whether they could guess who is behind. Yeah, it will be data that we will use to analyze the pilot. Yeah.
Okay. Next one, for the topic on circular cities and regions initiative, where the solutions are linked to the cities regions, can they be mentioned at this stage? So my first question would, of course, be, are they part of the two-stage calls in the 23-24 work programs? I just don't know. Do you know, colleagues?
I would have to see.
Okay,
but
so let's suppose they are.
yeah. Because this is, I think if I were, we had already a very similar question. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but when it comes to a pilot plot or a specific climatic area that has to be mentioned, for example, if there's, they could be mentioned if there's no link that the applicant is from this particular area or pilot plot. This was the very similar question that we had in the past. So here in this sense, if there's again no link to the region in particular, I would say the mention is okay to be included, if it's also required by the topic description.
Okay. Next question. So for unique innovators that are clearly identifiable by their innovation, it is not possible to apply. That is indeed an interesting case, and I'm grateful that the participant having asked this question has revealed his identity, John Hainan, we would be very grateful for examples, because we have to admit that so far we have not thought about such a case. So if you can afterwards contact us, send us an email, and if you have some examples, then we will of course look into this. Anything to add from your side, Isabella?
No, I would say that if the participant does not reveal their identity in the proposal part B, the proposal will not be rejected. Yeah. So even as we said before, the experts could guess who is behind. So this is exactly the things that we want to analyze in the pilot. So maybe blind evaluations are not good for areas in which there are a small circle of researchers and they can identify each other very easily. So we will take this information and we will analyze the pilot using this data. Yeah.
Okay, next question. If this is a pilot, what will happen in the future? Next calls, are there already any plans? Here we have to say this is a pilot, meaning a pilot is a pilot. And we will analyze the outcome of this pilot. And only after this, we will suggest to the governing bodies a possible way forward. We do not have any predefined perception or plans or ideas on how to go on after this pilot. That is, in a certain sense, a true scientific open experiment with open results. Next one. Annex F on blind evaluation refers to Horizon Europe program guide for further details, but blind evaluation is not mentioned here. Do you plan to update it?
We will update it, yes. So I will also check this mentioning of blind evaluations and program guide in Annex F, and if so, we will update the program guide, yes.
Okay, next one. It seems not sufficiently clear when a proposal can be judged inadmissible. Discrepancy general annexes versus application form. Can the Commission give more guidance? So I am not aware that there is really a discrepancy. We try to be more detailed in our guidance, but if you really have detected this discrepancy, of course, this has to be corrected. On the other hand, the whole discussion today is about judgment, about inadmissibility, and apart from the clear-cut cases, we can only emphasize again, this is case by case. But maybe Isabella, you can say something more about this perceived discrepancy.
Well, probably it refers to the fact that in the general annexes, we list those elements that should not be included in the proposal part B. But the admissibility condition in general is that the proposal should be anonymous. So we should not be able to identify the participants in the proposal part B. This is the admissibility criterion. And then in addition, we give a list of elements that if they are included in the proposal part B, the proposal will be declared automatically inadmissible. But what we are trying with all these examples that we are giving in the application form is to give you more information of other sentences or indirect revealing of applicants that could be included in the proposal part B and that may have an effect to reject the proposal because inadmissible. And these are the cases that we will analyze one by one. So it is not an automatically rejection, but it's not possible because the criterion to be admissible is that the proposal should be anonymous. Yeah.
Okay. Next one is the rebuttal mechanism in use. So the question, if I understand it correctly, is about mixing two pilots, the rebuttal pilot with the blind evaluation pilot. What is your take on this?
So as you said, Peter, the rebuttal mechanism was also a pilot, which will be not mixed with the pilot on blind evaluation. So there will be no rebuttal in place.
But we should maybe mention that, of course, all the other means of contesting the evaluation are still there, meaning the redress or even then ombudsman and so on. So rebuttal is not the only possibility for contesting evaluations. Okay, next one, partner 3 is a leading company in Spain for wind turbine installation. Would this be acceptable instead?
Well, this is a difficult question. I would say yes, but this is a typical example that has to be analyzed case by case. But I will also want to highlight that in the first stage proposal, we do not ask for the identity of partners and also what is their expertise. This is something that we ask in the full proposal in the second stage. So in the first stage proposal, we only ask about the excellence and part of the impact. It might well be that the consortia is not yet decided, so that the consortium for a given proposal is not yet decided at the time the first stage proposal is submitted. So these are details that we are not asking in the proposal template. But if for whatever reason they need to give us this type of details to show the excellence of the impact of the proposal, they have to do it in a way that we could not identify the participants behind. This is the general principle.
Yeah. Maybe just to follow on the example you've given here, my personal appreciation would be if there are 2 leading companies in Spain for wind turbine installation, the admissibility would be questionable. If there are 10 leading companies in Spain, then it could maybe be accepted. So that's the kind of judgment case by case that has to be done, I'm afraid. Okay, next one. Aren't you afraid of getting a lot of proposals with fake statements you cannot prove they are wrong if you don't know if a specific partner has the capacity? I think this leads back to the fact that we speak here about stage 1 of a 2-stage procedure. And in stage 1, we don't judge on the capacity. And of course, there can be cases where applicants just pretend, but this does not make any sense because in the second stage, they will have to send, if they make it through the first stage, they will have to prepare a full proposal and then the things will be revealed. So I don't know who wants to go through this effort of making a proposal when they know that at the latest in the second stage, they will be out because they have made fake statements in the first stage. So I don't see this big risk. Nothing to add, apparently.
No.
Okay, the next one we already replied. Yes, of course, the normal redress procedure will also be available for this item of inadmissibility. Okay, the next one we have also partially replied. The guide for blind evaluations in the application form seems to go further than what is set out in the new admissibility criteria general annexes. It indicates, in addition, names of proposer or should not be, and so on, potentially identifiable indirectly and creates uncertainty for applicants. I think Isabel has tried to explain that the very clear-cut cases that are enumerated one by one in the admissibility criteria are the minimum. What we are supposed and obliged to check is whether the proposal is anonymous or not. So we will have to go further and also look for indirect revealing of identities. So that is not an addition or a conflict or a discrepancy. It is just that we now try to give more explanation and guidance on these not so clear-cut indirect cases. Okay, next question. How are the rights of the applicants ensured during the pilot? A lot seems unclear and proposals could be declared inadmissible by unclearly defined criteria.
Well, maybe I can cover again this. So just as a general reply to this, it is not our intention to reject proposals with no reason behind. This is not the intention we have. So certainly we will only reject proposals when first any of these elements listed in the general annexes of the work program is included in the proposal part B, and second, if not, if there is an indirect revealing of the identity, it was intentionally done clearly. I think that will be the cases in which we will reject a proposal. For those cases that we will still analyze and take a decision, then if the intentionality is not proven, we will probably not reject the proposal, but we will use this information in the analysis of the pilots. Yeah. So this is something that we will include in our analysis of the final pilot. But just as a general reply, it's not our intention to reject proposals with no reasons behind. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to add anything. Yeah.
For me, it's fine from my side.
Okay, next one. Will the evaluators be trained to handle blind applications?
Yes. There will be also extra guidance for them as well to be aware what they're looking for, and not only, yeah, there will be more guidance for them as well.
Okay, next one. You plan to analyze the pilot. Can you provide us more information? When can we expect results of the analysis? I think the timing for the analysis follows quite naturally from the timing of the concerned calls. So we have a first wave of calls, two-stage calls in the 23 work program. They have to be evaluated, and then we can maybe have a first interim analysis on this first batch of calls, and then there will be a second wave in the 24 work program, and only after this we can do a final analysis and can wrap it up. That's in a certain sense the timing. So if the first deadlines, if I remember well, are in May or so for these two-stage calls, then the evaluation will be finished 5 months later, which means in October. So we could expect that by the end of the year, beginning of next year, we have a first interim result of analysis on these pilots. Am I correct, colleagues?
Yes, and in addition, in the same way as we did the analysis of the rebuttal pilot, we will send surveys to participants, to evaluators. We will also consult the call coordinators and NCPs, yes.
Next one, is there experience of blind applications from other major grant awarding bodies that helped inspire the Commission's approach?
Well, yes, we have looked into the guidance published for other institutions, and in particular, we are aware that the COST organization is also organizing blind evaluations, and we took some inspiration from their guidance. Yes.
Okay, next one. What do you expect will be the success rate from stage 1 to stage 2? That's a question not really related to the blind pilot, but we have, of course, general.
No, the success rate is always the same because we apply that dynamic threshold in stage 1. So 3 times, so proposal representing 3 times the budget available will go to stage 2. But this hasn't changed.
Okay, next one. What happens if a topic you choose for blind evaluation is not suitable for such an evaluation? For instance, that most or all applicants are not able to disguise themselves.
Well, this will be probably one of the results of our analysis, that maybe there are areas in which the blind evaluation is not suitable. Yeah, we will analyze this type of considerations. Yes.
Yes, and I don't think we should speculate too much, but of course, if indeed such a thing happens that none of the proposals get through, then we will take the respective measures and maybe repeat the topic or other things. But we cannot speculate at that moment what might happen if. We will see. Okay, next questions. CL6 2023 Circ Bio 0212 stage, circular cities. Okay. Okay, it is a follow-up question. So it's about the region cities in the circular cities. Could they be named?
Well, I think Isabella already explained that.
So the part that I explained was really that if they mention if they are not necessarily coming from these regions, from the cities, and it's required by the topic description, it's completely fine to be mentioned. Here really the question is the region cities could be partners, could they be mentioned? I think it's a very very difficult to see whether, because if there are partners and I don't know if you, Isabel, what would be also your view on this? How do they be mentioned, named?
No, I think they should do the most they can do to not identify the partners. But of course, if the topic condition requires that the action happens in some regions,
yeah,
of course they have to mention this in the proposal part B without identifying the participants behind. Yeah.
I think it's really to keep aware, to be aware, not to create the link between the partner and the city. It's again this neutral point of view, and yes, if it's required, then it has to be mentioned.
Yeah, reading it again, we might indeed have to look into that particular topic, because I'm not absolutely sure, but it might be that these cities, in terms of the municipalities as legal entities themselves, are supposed to participate as beneficiaries, and then it will, of course, be difficult. We will look into this.
But in any case, Peter, in the first stage, we are not asking for the identity of the beneficiaries. This is all. Yeah. I think with this we are covered, yeah, or partially covered. But we will look into it, yeah.
Okay. Will there be similar instructions like developed for cost where anonymity is required? I think we looked into the instructions for costs and got inspired, but you can elaborate on this, Isabel.
Well, we have developed the instructions that we included in the proposal template, taking some inspirations from the cost guidance. And this is what we are going to publish for the time being. We don't plan to publish more guidance or more instructions than that.
Next one. This seems like a lot of extra work for the Commission for questionable benefits. Are there statistics on perceived or real biases or a need for this pilot? I'm afraid we should refer this question to the legislator who has put this pilot into the legal act. Isabella, do you want to?
No, you say it, yeah. So indeed, what we want to analyze in the pilot, it will not be whether we eliminate the bias in our evaluations. This we are not going to check. Also, we will do some analysis of data on this aspect. So what we want to check really with this pilot is whether we are able to organize blind evaluations from the organizational point of view. If this will mean that we will have to dedicate double resources for evaluations, so maybe this will be a reason to not to continue. But I am advancing the results of the pilot. So this is what we will analyze after the pilot. Yeah.
Okay, next one. I think this is again on that same topic and the particular call. I think, as I said, we have to come back to it and look into the details of that topic to see what the issue is. Next one on the slides, the consortium includes the largest research institute in France, is inadmissible. Would the consortium includes one of the largest be okay? There are many large research institutes in France, so my perception would be yes in that case. Would you agree?
I would agree, but again, this will be something to be analyzed case by case, and maybe the same sentence is not okay for another country. I don't know. So this is a case to be analyzed. Yeah.
Okay, next question. However, a unique asset is also part of excellence. So I assume that means you have a kind of unique research installation device infrastructure which you want to use in the project. What could we say about this?
What can we say? That it will be also a case to be analyzed. Yeah. So with this, probably we will rely on the experts, so on the opinion of the experts. And
maybe the advice is in the first stage not to focus on your operational capacity, because
exactly.
This is a unique asset, is a part of their operational capacity, but on what you actually want to do in your proposal, in your project. Or to say it differently, being the owner of an expensive device is not per se a sign of excellence. So you can buy a very expensive Stradivari violin and own it and still be a very lousy violinist. So just for illustration. Okay, next one. Will the EC publish a guide as it did for lump sums with examples and counterexamples of eligible formulations as for the cost guidelines?
We have included those samples in the proposal template. So we have embedded the guidance in the proposal template, yes.
Okay, next one is a bit provocative. Out of curiosity, have you ever written any applications yourself? I can reply this for myself and say yes, but it's a long time ago.
For me as well.
Isabel can also say yes.
Yeah, for me, unfortunately, not myself, but yeah.
Okay. Next one. Could the guidance for evaluators on blind evaluations be made public and well before the call deadlines, as this will be useful for applicants too? Thanks.
Yes, I think I can take this one. This will be also, as far as I understood, also public to the applicants as well. We'll update the information for the evaluators, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, Isabel, but I think it will be public.
Okay. Yes, of course. So the guidance is already published in the portal, is the proposal template, and all the info days in which we have participated for the clusters, the recording of those info days is also publicly available, and the recording of this event will also be available in the portal. Yeah.
And also the guidance that we give to evaluators is also public.
Exactly, as well. Yeah, the briefing slides for experts. Yes, this is also published in the portal.
Yeah. So next one, how will potential bias be excluded when choosing the evaluators if the applicants are anonymous? Will this be addressed by the Commission beforehand?
Yes, so the proposal is not anonymous for us. So the participants can can be identified in the proposal part A. And of course, we receive the part A and the part B of the proposal, and the experts evaluators will only see the part B. But we know who is behind the proposal. And of course, when we contract experts evaluators, we do checks for conflict of interest in all our evaluations. This will not change in this case. So we will do the same checks.
Next one. I'm afraid that good applications will be declared inadmissible because of this pilot. It will be really hard not to reveal oneself unintentionally.
Let's hope that this doesn't happen. What can we say? Yeah, this.
No, and again, this is one of the purposes of this pilot, to find out whether yes or not this happens. And you say unintentionally in the question. So the degree of intentionality is also something that will be taken into account in the case-by-case analysis of the indirect cases. Next one, if an expert evaluator has a strong suspicion of a partner's identity, will this be verified by a project officer? Similar to another question that we had before.
So if there is only a suspicion, so if there is no data in the proposal part B, we will not check this. So, however, we will ask this expert evaluator, we will ask all of them whether they could guess who is behind the proposal, and we will also ask them who they think is behind. And then for those cases, we will check, but we will use this information only for the analysis of the pilot. So no consequences for the applicants here. Yeah.
Okay, next one. If part one is blind, then oof, it was jumping. Okay, I take that one. If an expert evaluator has a strong suspicion, oh no, this we had already. If part one is blind, then applicants must include all the identification information in the second part. Seems like more work. This is maybe a misunderstanding. So the part A of the proposals, that means the structured web forms where you put all the data on who is who and all your contact data and so on, that stays even in stage one. It is just not revealed to the experts. So in that sense, this blind pilot is exactly the same as the normal process for submitting proposals. Next one. In order to show the soundness and impact of the proposals, if applicants introduce mention to the countries involved, would that be considered as inadmissible? I think we covered it. Not per se, only if the information on the country is combined with other indirect hints that would make it easy to conclude on the identity of the organization. Next one, major changes between first stage and second stage were always discouraged. Yes.
And it will not change in this pilot, so still the same, yeah. But as in the past, in the first stage application, we never asked for the identity of the consortia. This is not part of the details that we ask in the first stage proposal. Yeah. This doesn't change. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Will the Commission be monitoring if the trial puts people off applying? Also for any rejected, if that puts them off applying again, they wasted time in writing the proposals.
This, I don't know how we can check this. We will ask the applicants for their opinion on the blind evaluation. But of course, we are asking applicants, so we are not asking those that intended to apply and didn't apply. This, we will not be able to check this unless you, as a national contact point, have some information that want to give us. But apart from this, I don't see how we can check this. Yeah.
what we, of course, have as data is the
number of proposals.
Is the number of proposals compared to the available budget, so the success rate. And indeed, in that case, it would mean that the success rate in topics using blind evaluation would go up. That is something that we could observe.
Yeah, but
for which we have data.
Yeah, we will analyze all this data, yeah, and compare the data with historic information that we have. But the success rate for first stage evaluation, because we apply this dynamic threshold, it will remain the same, yeah. But this, we will analyze the information and compare it with previous calls. This we will do, yes.
Next one, for the question on unique infrastructure data, etc., you can't answer properly, but application may be declared inadmissible. So again, yes, there are cases of indirect potential revealing of identities. These cases have to be considered one by one. There cannot be, by all means, an exhaustive list of concrete description of any potential cases that might appear. But we should also emphasize again that we are not evil willing. It is not our intention to find reasons for rejecting proposals because of inadmissibility. So we will, of course, and together with the experts, have to apply a lot of common sense. And we can only hope that the common sense in terms of intentionally or not intentionally revealing identities will also applied by the applicants. And this is the purpose of the guidance that we are trying to prepare. Next one, some of the details of the partners have to do more with credibility of the proposal than with the consortium composition.
Yes, I think this is what we are trying to say since the start. So in the first stage, we asked for the excellence of the proposal, but we do not ask for the consortium composition at this stage. We will ask for details in the second stage with the full proposal. I think this is what the comment wants to say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Next one, do you have any statistics? And this is a premature question. The pilot has not yet started, so we do not have statistics. We haven't yet rejected any proposal due to inadmissibility. Next one, provide examples on how to write that partner A will develop something without using the name and at the same time prove that they are capable to do it. This comes back again to the operational capacity. And again, you do not have to describe this in the first stage. So in the first stage, you can claim that what you intend to do can be done. Only in the second stage, if you come to this, you will then have to explain and demonstrate that you're also capable of doing it, but then there is no more anonymity. Next one, when template refers to link project to any national, international research activity, how can this be made without indicating project acronyms, suggestions?
Well, I think Isabella explained it very well in the presentation. So you can mention that your work, the work that you propose in the proposal, is based on previous work funded by other activities. This, I think you can say it without specifically mention that this is your work, your previous work. Yeah. So, and we included some examples in the slides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next one, or manufacturer of modular built smartphones. I think this is again a potential example to test whether this is admissible or not. I think we cannot judge here without context. It might be or might not be. Next is a suggestion. Could you reformulate the inadmissible examples given in the presentation into admissible ones? For example, the Spanish wind turbine producer, etc. It's a good suggestion. We will look into this and maybe try to have some positive examples on how you can describe participants without indirectly revealing their identity. Point taken. Have you already dealt with redress? In case yes, could you say more? Was it successful? So redress is a standard part of our evaluation process, so it happens all the time. And do we have, from the top of our heads, statistics on redress cases? I guess not.
Not now. So I know more or less the percentage of rejected proposals that ask for a redress, but I don't know the percentages of positive outcome of the redress or negative outcome. Yeah, these are information that we present regularly to program committees. Yeah. But if the question is about redress for rejecting the proposal because inadmissible of with the blind evaluation, then the answer is we didn't start yet, so we don't know. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Will a first analysis be done before cluster health has the first stage deadline in September? That is ambitious, I would say, as I said.
But I think health is participating only in 2024 goals, if I am not mistaken.
I can check quickly.
Yeah. So if this is the case, yes, we will have a preliminary analysis by the end of this year. Yeah. No. Yeah, I have all the goals here, all 2024 goals. Yes.
But
but the deadline of the first stage is 23.
Exactly.
By then, no, we will not have it, probably. Yeah.
Okay, next one. For cluster 4, deadline for the first stage is on 7th March 23. Will the guidance for the blind evaluation be public in the next days?
For this, the guidance in the application form, this was published already some time ago, and this is already on the funding and tenders portal. And when it comes to any more guidance for what is meant here, also the guidance for the evaluators, this will be very much in line what is also accessible for the applicants. So I wouldn't say there would be much discrepancy or much more details on this. And this is, as I said, already available in the funding and tenders portal in the application form template.
Okay, next question from Paul Peterson. Hello, Paul. What do you mean by dynamic threshold? If one topic receives a lot of proposals, will the budget for this topic then go up? No, and this has nothing to do with today's subject. It is a generic approach for two-stage calls, and I think Isabel can explain in detail.
Yes, so for two-stage call, and this is not new in Horizon Europe, it was also the case in Horizon 2020. So for the first stage call, we applied a dynamic threshold, meaning that we let pass to the second stage a number of proposals that represents, I'm not sure if it is 3 times or 2.5 times the budget available to the call. I was checking whether, but I think it doesn't matter whether it is 2.5 or 3 times. Yeah, I have it. 3 times. I have it here. It's 3 times the available budget and no less than 2.5 times the available budget. This is to ensure the effectiveness of the 2 stages evaluations, because in the past when we took this decision, we were noting that many proposals were passing to the stage 2. So we would not be able to eliminate, so we still were asking proposals to prepare a full applicants to prepare a full proposal even with little chances to pass the second stage. And that was a decision that was taken in Horizon 2020, at the start of Horizon 2020, if I am not mistaken. Nothing changes with respect to this. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Submitting over-optimistic inflated applications may not be the way to secure funding the second stage, but will cause for better applications not passing. Again, not related to the blind evaluation, but maybe you have a comment on this, Isabella.
No, indeed, this is not related to blind evaluations. This can also happen without blind evaluations in the first stage. But again, so high quality proposal in stage 1 will get high scores and they will all pass. Yeah. So as I explained, we choose a number of proposals passing to the second stage, a number of proposals that represent 3 times the budget available. So we will, in average, reject 1 out of 3 proposals passing to stage 2, and this is already probably a lot. Yeah. But this doesn't change with the blind evaluation.
Okay, next one. Could you specify where these guidances on blind evaluation are available?
So this will be the application form template, which is available in the Funding and Tenders portal. But then once we added the guidance, there was a, if for example, the applicants already started with preparing their proposal, they were also notified with a message from the IT system that there's the new template with the guidance available. And also if a new applicant starts to work on their application, on their proposal, they will see also the new guidance. So this is the application form for stage 1 template.
Okay, next one. Don't you think that the scope of a major industrial or health project is different from a cost network? Yes, we do. But as we have said, we have the obligation from the European legislator to run this pilot and not on a cost network. Next one. Does the extension of 3 pages for business case in part B for blind evaluation course concern the first stage or second stage?
This, I would say, second stage, but I'm not sure about what this is about, the extension of 3 pages for business case in part B. This is probably something specific for a given topic. Yeah, it's not a standard requirement. Yeah. Do you know more, Isabella, about it?
No, this was also very, this would be very particular, I would say.
Yeah, if you need more information, maybe you can contact us bilaterally and give us the topic that you are referring to. Yeah, and we will check. Yeah.
Next one. Again, an example, electrical vehicles with sport design and 1 prototype in space. That is very obvious. That would be inadmissible. As far as we know, there is only 1 prototype currently in space. Next one, do the experts evaluate in such a way that the identity of participants is not known to them? Yes, that's the very purpose of the blind evaluation pilot. Next one, documentation for blind evaluation is not sufficient, a lot cross-referencing between specific conditions and so on and so forth and so on. Okay, we can only take note, and as you see and hear us, we are working permanently and continuously on the improvement of this guidance. And we are with the last question that has actually 0 votes. We still have time to handle it. Will the identity of applicants be revealed to evaluators after the evaluation is completed?
Probably not, yeah, but I cannot say no for all topics because we don't know what will happen in every evaluation, but it is not our intention. It will not be part of the standard process to reveal the identity of the applicants to experts. Yeah.
Okay, I think we reached the end, even before the official end of our timing, but that is even better. So thank you very much to everybody having participated and for all the interesting questions. As you could see, we try also to learn from you. We will analyze again all the questions and we will continue working on the guidance. But I should also emphasize that this is a pilot for us in the same sense as it is for you and the applicants. So we have to go through this together and try to make the best out of it. And as we also indicated, there will be analysis, there will be surveys, there will be monitoring of what is happening. And once this pilot is over, the respective governance bodies have to take a decision on the future of this. I would say we leave it at that. Thank you very much again to everybody behind the scenes and also to Isabella and Isabel for trying to reply to all the questions. So have a nice rest of the afternoon. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.